Thank you for watching our podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today is our fifth podcast, Telecommunication and Innovation, our chapter number 5, Introduction to Artificial Intelligence in Agile and Agile Project Management. Today, our guest is going to be our expert in executive transformation coaching, Mr. Rick Regueira. Is an agile transformation, organizational change management, and a business agility. Also, Rick is committed to empowering organizations to embrace change and adapt a new technology and market trends. I would like to add that Rick is also active member of the community, serving as a national keynote speaker, president of South Florida Agile Association, and he's the host of the Agile International Conference and Agile Executive Coach for South Florida PMI. Rick, can you present yourself? Give me your role in Transformation Expert, and what is Transformation Expert?
So thank you very much, Dr. Hedrich Vici, again, better known as Rocky. So my name is Rick Regueira. I am a partner in Transformation Experts as an executive coach. I've worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, kind of helping them in their journey. We own our own business, and we learn and are challenged throughout the industry, but we're also challenged within our own business, right? So it's exciting to help organizations kind of find their way through business agility and being able to adapt to the changing times. And I'm here to support all layers of the organization. It always starts at top, right? But you also have the middle layer and also at the team level, right? And they all have to kind of come together to truly have a successful organizational transformation. So excited. I know you mentioned several good things about what we've done, but it's a we kind of attitude here. And you've been part of that journey as well, Rocky, kind of helping build the South Florida community to the success it is today.
I'm very humbled to say that I've been with Transformation Expert as a collaborator for a long time, I guess.
We really want to share our age. No, we're young.
Exactly. But it's been, I'm very humbled that you took your time to do this podcast so we can inform people. That's the way my podcasts are, to inform people about new trends in technology and what is out there. So I would like to start the podcast with a few questions, right? Since you are the expert. Can we discuss the evolution of Agile and the natural progression toward integration AI?
Wow. So you're really talking about the whole story of Agile, right? And if you think about Agile, when you read up on it or you kind of talk through it, there's the mindset aspect of it, right? So the mindset has been on since the Agile Manifesto, but also on top of that, there were several other frameworks that were involved, right? You got Scrum, you got Kanban, and then there's also these scaling frameworks. So a lot of that stuff was great. It helped us during the time where we really kind of had to find a new way of working, right? Because that old traditional way of working, Rocky, just didn't work, right? That traditional command and control, this, I am the smartest person, this is the way it should go, doesn't happen, right? So we know that we live in a world that's ever changing and right, very dynamic. So we need to have tools that allow us to do that. So now, as we're doing this, right, suddenly we're faced with, is this fast enough? What other tools, what other technologies are out there that are really going to, kind of like catapult us to the next level? So yes. AI has been around also for a long time, but I think in the last 2 to 3 years, you've heard a lot more, especially with these large language models, right? So now we're looking at Agile and these teams that are cross-functional, and now trying to say, well, how does AI play a part? Or how does these different components kind of help that team work even better, right? So it's really like an add-on to your group, to your organization. So I'm excited to see the venture of it, but that's kind of like the history of it, to answer your first question on
Yes.
kind of where we evolved to kind of do that. And now we're just like, a lot of companies are saying AI first, right? That kind of conversation needs to be had. So I hope that was good enough, Rocky.
No, yeah, good. Yes. What do you think AI is making an impact, such as automation, predictive analytics, and a task management
Right.
in
So
Agile?
So remember, from an Agile perspective, you have a lot of things that we do to kind of understand the work, right? It all starts with understanding the what, right? So having a tool that can automatically do some analysis of the industry, right? And kind of connect to the industry and say, well, this is how the current market is. These are the trends of the market. And it's kind of giving you that feedback so that you can cross-reference with experts. Please take that into account, Rocky.
Yes.
It's another data point, right? AI gives us several data points that we can work with, but ideally, we as experts, you and I in the industry, has to decide, well, is this actually heading in the right direction? What should we pivot to and what should we adjust? Ultimately, we make that decision, we make that call. But it is a great thing to use and to actually have additional information. So understand it's the what, then it kind of leads into the how. Now that you use this tool to do the analysis of it, now how do you implement this? This tool also gives you the capabilities of saying, these are some examples of what implementation looks like, and allows you to go through them in a very quick and rapid pace rather than, trying to research it one by one, right? So it really fast tracks those two very important pillars to kind of get that what we call the flow of work, right? Going through the pipeline.
Very nice. So, what are some of the most effective AI tools available for Agile teams today that you see?
Right. So remember, like I told you before, like some of the stuff related to large language models does play a pretty cool role, because it's able to look at requirements and even analyze them and say, hey, what do you see that's missing, right? Is it meeting the definition of ready? Is it meeting the definition of done? So a lot of these language models kind of help out to do that. But then you also have a lot of cool design AI models out there, right? Where they're actually saying, what would this look like? Remember when we had to send it to a designer to immediately get some kind of look and feel? Imagine if some of these AI components can actually say, okay, this is what I have. What would that look like? And then you can have that quick feedback. Again, it doesn't take over the designer. The designer also has the capability of saying, yeah, it was off. This is really the right pathway, right? But it kind of fast tracks that. So those are some of the AI tools, but there's so many. Right now, you've heard of Scrum Masters bringing in AI agents,
Yeah.
where they take notes and they kind of, document the stuff that you're doing. They sometimes have it connected to their Trello board or to their Slack channel, right? Imagine the kind of communications you can get from those areas that can kind of shine a light. Again, use it as a data point and be aware that they sometimes make mistakes. And you have to have experts in there to try to understand that conversation. Those are
I have to say that right now, I didn't feel that 6 months ago, but right now I feel better because the per se the generative AI is getting better and better, and you have plugins that it helps the process, right? For example, like Jira or Asana or Trello, right? So I didn't see that before. Now I can see that when you have a meeting, you could transcribe the minutes with the software or an application, right? Like I audit that AI and I give you a very nice summary. And then from there, you can start asking questions. Of course, I always say the tool is a tool, but you have to work on it.
Right.
But you have the basic from the tool, right? To prepare your sprint path or related to your team.
So I love it. And my fear, so yes, 6 months or maybe a year ago, those things were not. But guess the curvature when it comes to the improvement. Like you're seeing dramatic improvements
Yes,
in
sir.
some of those things. And it's because there's a lot of different companies really, it's not just, ChatGPT or OpenAI that's working with. There's a lot of different competitors now that's
Yes.
kind of forcing other groups to get better, right? That competition that kind of strives to look at things better, right? So I'm excited about what that looks like. But again, with great technology and great capabilities comes great risk, right?
Yes.
So there is a lot of conversation behind making sure we guard ourselves,
Yeah.
properly to
That's
safety.
gonna be my next
Oh,
question.
you see, I kind of read the questions ahead. No.
Yeah, we're following the
There you go.
the roadmap. Uh,
Awesome.
what challenges should agile teams be aware when implementing AI?
I think the biggest challenge people were having, again, we're really talking about large language models here. There's a lot more to AI when you talk about robotics and other
Yes,
things.
yes,
So right now our focus is really just to kind of have a conversation behind that. So a lot of the things that were very fearful and things are getting better now was where that information is kept,
yes,
right? A lot of people kept entering these personal business, proprietary stuff into ChatGPT and some of these engines where we didn't know where that information was going to be stored and how that information was going to be used. So
yes,
I think now they're making a lot of models that are more stored in the facility, right? Or kind of the data is captured and kept over there, right? But those are still things that we got to be careful with, right? And how that leaks out and how much of that information is going to be. So that's probably the biggest concern. But then there's other concerns related to copyrights, security, right?
yes,
All of those things are going to play a part on how we're going to move forward, right? How much of this stuff is being done to protect us, right? Is this going to be fully like, are we even going to be having this conversation in the future? Or is it going to be the AI Rick and the AI Rocky here talking to each other,
yeah. I
having a
think
conversation?
I think we are in a. I always said we're in a roadmap that we have to follow. And it's going to be policy and procedures that you have to follow later in a way that, it's going to be data privacy concerns. They're going to need quality data, risks over reliances on AI. And I always say why we don't have something like GDPR from Europe. And they're working on it. There are a lot of things they're working on it, but we're not there. So I want to see this 5 or 10 years later, it's like, wow. Remember when we talk about the podcast?
I think it's going to be an interesting journey. I am optimistic, but I also can see the other side, right?
Yeah,
Because we still don't live in a world where we really true have come together as a world, community. There's still so many dividers in our community that there are going to be different views and people are going to approach it differently, right? So again, with great technology comes great responsibility.
of
And
course.
this is where humanity really has to play a key role in kind of working through this, right? We can't just make a mistake. This is not that easy rollback mistake type of conversation. But
And and and
go
I,
ahead.
al- I always get the question, is AI is going to take my job? And then I said, well, you have to think about it, how the evolution of AI is going to be, right? But for sure, it's not going to take your job. but somebody else that have that skill, it will.
Yeah, I think that is just, there's a lot of unknowns to that equation because a lot of things that they mention now is that the jobs of the future haven't even been invented yet,
Yes.
right? So you're going to school, you're getting your grades, and then you realize, oh my God, this is not the same career I'm going to be having when I finally graduate. It's an interesting, different world that we're going to live in. And there's going to be a symbiotic kind of unity there because there is advantages in having that type of technology close to you. I hate to say it, but neural networks, where Elon says they can put something on your head so that you can kind of know. There is that kind of like mutated view of it. It is what it is, whether it's a wearable, whether you have a watch, all of those things. Your phone is an addition to you as a person, right? So what does this future AI look like in addition to you, right? What does that look like? What does that feel like, right? So
Yeah.
I love the idea that we're very positive. I think the question I have for you from humanity, if we did have the ability to do more for the world and AI gave us more flexibility, what good could we do? Like there's
Yeah.
just so much good we could do if this was able to take care of some of the minute, everyday tasks that maybe we shouldn't have to worry about as much. It's a great
The,
question.
the only thing I can say, I did an article, right?
Okay.
Uh, Emotional intelligence using AI.
Hmm.
And people, when they read the articles, oh, it could be, in a way that I'm not saying that the machine or machine learning is going to take over a human, right, for your feelings. No, I'm not saying that. But sometimes you need a companion to talk to, right? And then it can give you, answers that maybe you're looking for, and then you feel better.
So Rocky, when you said that to me, the first thing that came to my mind was the mental health problems we have in the world. You
Yes.
just saw the other day what happened with the shooting and all that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that need help. And if AI is that starter block to kind of help at least guide them, man, the more power to them. There's a lot of help and a lot of lonely people out there.
Yes.
There's a lot of people suffering with illness. How do we
Yes.
help them? If this creates an avenue for
Every,
that, that would be
yeah,
amazing.
everything's related how you're gonna help humanity, right?
You and I feel that way. You and I know we're passionate about that world, right? How do we get everyone else to also feel that that's where we should all be heading? And we're
Yeah.
not there yet. As a globe, we're not there. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to figure out how we do that, especially as this evolves. Remember, you got quantum computing that's flying up there. They're even doing faster quantum computing now, right?
Yeah.
And now you got the AI, and that's only going to increase as well. Think about that. It's increasing at such a high level. Imagine putting those two together. It can break any password out there. It can do anything that we can do from a structure perspective. What does that mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. We have to be prepared. That's one thing, in a
I
way
love.
that to be prepared is you have to. It's logical, right? You have to read. You have to study. I mean, if not, I mean, where are you gonna go? But I think the way we're doing all this, for example, this podcast, we're informing, right, people and what's going on, the feeling we have, and how can we help more people, and that's very strong statement, right? Okay, another question. How is AI changing traditional roles within agile teams, such as a Scrum Master, product owners?
So we can start with the product owner first. Like I told you, the AI agents that are out there are going to give you a lot more capabilities to expand the understanding your customer, right?
Yes,
There's a lot of data points out there of how people shop, how people buy things, what are they looking at, what are they thinking about. Imagine having that at your fingertips, and not just having a one directional conversation, which is just tell me this, tell me this.
Yeah.
Actually going back and forth. But what if this changes? What if that what if scenarios are so dramatic and so amazing to do? Again, with the complement of real people. Do not just stay in a silo thinking that this AI large language models are giving you what you need. You need to complement it with real facts, real data, right? So those are some key things. Understand there's something else remember you just talked about earlier about some problems with AI. There is something that they call hallucination, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
there are times where the AI agent truly is trying to convince you that this is the right path, but it's way off.
Yeah.
So something you have to be alert for and understand how to work with that. So again, that human connection, that human involvement. So the product owner role more involved in understanding the AI and how to do the prompts that they need to put. From a Scrum Master role, this is my personal opinion here, so please understand that we as Scrum Masters, we are always trying to read people. And we read people right now. I'm reading the way you're talking to me. I'm reading your tone. I'm reading the way you're sitting up, right? But there's a lot more indicators that are out there
Yeah.
that we've never had the power to analyze because it's just too much, right? Whether it's your temperature, whether it's your face expressions, like having some AI agents kind of see how things are and alert us that there is some challenges, that someone seems to be very gloomy today. How do you proactively get there? There's just going to be some interest if used properly. If used incorrectly, you're going to shatter the trust that is the most essential part of what we build as agile teams, right? So how do you use these data points to kind of help you rather than belittle you or cause you stress that you're being tracked?
Yes.
What is that? Big brother. Big brother's tracking you, everything you do. You don't want to have that kind of feeling. Does that make sense?
Excellent. Excellent. When I'm trying to see the changes, right? It's because you have a job description for each one, right? And each one have a different task to do. But I've been doing some uh, exercises, you can say that,
Uh-huh.
and I transcribe my minutes with a software called Otter.ai, right? It's very nice. And I said, I put a labels of the people that went to the meeting. Like, for
Okay.
example, a Scrum Master, Product Owner, and team member, and a lead developer as a team member.
Okay.
So when I got the summary, you can say that, I went to the generative AI and I said, okay, and in my first prompt, I said, based on the attached meeting transcription file, what are the key issues to handle in this sprint?
Okay.
Right?
I like it. I like it.
And then it came back with, based on your file attached meeting summary, you have to do this, you have to do that on the system you are trying to build, right?
Mhm.
And I say, oh man, this is very nice. Let me do a second prompt. The second prompt was, based on the same meeting, what would you like the next steps for each team member?
Love it.
Give me the output on a table format.
Love it.
And then give me the table. And each person has a step to do. And I'm like, oh man, this is nice. I'm not saying it's going to replace people. I'm saying you preparing your plan based in this, and then you can change it or whatever.
So I love what you did. I love the exercise you did. The only thing that I would probably have done differently in the beginning is actually test your skills out. You
Yeah,
write down, you write it down. You pretend like, okay, this is what I think, and then run it and see how good you did
yeah.
and see what you missed and what you didn't miss, because that
Uh-huh.
way it makes you better. Sometimes people take I'm going to say it, which is really bad, the lazy way out, where they're so constantly doing searches and they're just getting the dump of data and they're not thinking through it anymore. They've already lost human connection and they're just saying, whatever the system says, I'm just going to put it in. I think
I
the
think
only way you really learn is by you doing it first, because it clears your mind to
yes.
first put your thoughts out rather than being, how do I say this, tainted by what it comes back with. Because then you're only going to be thinking in their circle
Yes.
compared to what you're
I
thinking.
did that. I did that with the user story. I said, well, let me do two of them, and then I'm gonna ask again to see, how the generative AI, the chat GPT is gonna work. And I said, based on the key issues identified during the meeting, please give me the initial user story to guide the development on the new features. And it gave me the response, and they were kind of close what I have. And I said, man, this is good.
I think what's funny, and if you want to take it to the next step of that, ask it and tell me how many story points are in each one. And it will give you story points, but you know how Agile works.
Yeah,
Agile works was where the team collaborates to come up with,
exactly. Yeah.
but it will guess what it thinks is the right thing. So again, it might not have all the right rules of how the system should really be working, but it's an interesting
But
conversation.
it's interesting, right? I mean, you can have that output with your team and everybody, and I said, based on this user story, can you please help me to draft test scenarios?
I love that as well. Yes, test scenarios would be good. Now, Rocky, if you dive deeper into that, you and I know that it's sometimes, especially now, it's about the prompt itself, right? So it's more like, can I tweak the prompt so it
Yeah.
can get a better response, right?
Yes.
Because that way you're just tweaking the response and then you can just automate that.
Yeah.
So
But it's funny the way it works, all right? I mean, it's a tool. I always say it's a tool. And then when you get the output, now the word you're saying, you're gonna have hallucinations. Well, review it.
yeah,
And then, but at least you have the base, right? The base point set to start talking.
it's a fast track to writing things down. That think about how long it would take you to write some of those stories. Like you're talking about saving like 50% of, or maybe even further of your time trying to generate a very quick response to these things. So
Yeah, imagine that the company have that storage of all the user stories for all the projects,
yeah,
right? And then
yeah,
you said, compare my user stories to that database.
yes.
Oh my God, that's gonna be like, boom.
Ideally, that's what you're going to have is your whole database and say, give me the same way. Like imagine historical data. Historical data can actually come back and say, well, you've done this before. Why don't you do this? Or you've done this and you've learned from this, right? Some of those things are going to be very handy as you're figuring this out. So pretty cool, you know.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about ethical.
Okay.
Okay, what ethical consideration should agile teams keep in mind when implementing the AI?
So again, there's a lot of things that you're going to be able to do, and a lot of questions and you know things that you're going to be able to do with AI, right? So how do you populate these large language models? If you think about it, they're grabbing specific data from other systems, right? They grab data, that data is put into certain patterns and then put into the system, and suddenly they're able to logically figure that out, right? Where they get these data from, who knows, right? You've heard a lot of hacks into systems to pull data out so they can kind of build their engine. I've even heard of AIs trying to piggyback off of other AI agents and steal their technology in a sense by cross-referencing communications, right? Hey, how does it respond to that? Let me train it's training your AI off of another AI, right? So think about what that might do to competitive nature out there, right?
Yes.
There's again, we talked about the idea of copywriting stuff, and how are we going to work with that? So we need to make sure we're giving people the prompts or the credit for what they've done. And some of these AI agents don't do that, right? They don't take into account making sure that we give back the credit to where it was founded from, right? So again, a lot of interesting things that still need to be developed. And we talked about regulations and all that stuff to deal with etiquette issue. But that's some of the things that I'm thinking about. I don't know. Are you thinking of any other things, Rocky, on that?
No, yeah. I mean, sincerely, it's getting better
Right.
in a way that academia is starting to learn that AI is here and it's here to stay. It won't go away. So academia have to work with this kind of tools, and of course they need to teach students to be sure that that they do the right thing, right? Because for sure you're gonna have summaries and things that you can do faster and better than a regular human, but you need to cite authors, years, whatever you have to do, a reference have to be there because it's not your work if you asking the AI, right? So it's getting there. It's gonna get better, but it's gonna take time. It's like everything, right?
So that's the biggest challenge I have right now is what does that look like in the future? Rocky, when you think of the calculator, and I know you make that example, like the calculator, people don't even do math anymore.
Yeah,
Like they just use the calculator like it's second nature. Whatever that number shows up is what they think. So
yeah,
you're going to pay somebody, you put it in the calculator, whatever that number comes in, you pay them. That's how much confidence you have in the calculator. My question is, when we finally get to a point where we're so confident with these large language models, we're so confident with it that we're just not going to even think about it making a mistake. And we're willing to take the small mistake if it is, but we're just going to go by default. What would the world look like,
yeah,
at that point? So it's just an interesting view. And you're right. Like, what are teachers teaching nowadays?
yeah,
Is it memorization? Or is it really problem solving, uniting people, bringing concepts together? Like that's what should be the main focus of education rather than trying to memorize something that you can look up. I think Einstein had the quote, and I don't know if this is a true quote. You can quote is he asked Einstein, "What's your phone number?" He says, "I don't know." And he says, "Why don't you know your phone number?" Because I can look it up. Now, again, I don't know if that was true because they probably have a lot of
yeah.
stories
I don't.
about Einstein, but that's an interesting take. Right?
Yeah, no. You're right. I mean, but I think we're on the right track, and I always said when this type of technologies are out there and you are, you know, taking classes, you're reading, you're trying to be on top of that, you're okay. The people who doesn't, right, they're gonna fall behind because that's the way it is. And that happened when the PC came in the early 90s, when people they didn't want to use the regular PCs or laptops. Now, if you don't have an iPhone 15, it's like wow, right? So
The only thing that I would add to that, and again, I'm not here to scare the public, is that when you've got these algorithms that are looking for patterns that the human mind can't even phantom at this point,
yeah,
because you have these tools working behind the scenes trying to look for common denominators or common patterns in data. um, it's something that's going to take us time to absorb, right? And
yes,
to kind of understand. And at the rate of what it's doing, it's too hard for us to catch up, right?
yeah,
I've heard a lot of amazing specialists talk about, they ask them, well, what is the thing doing? I have no idea. And they're raising their right hand and saying, I have no idea how I came up with that logic. So that's a lot of learnings that we have, and we're not going to be able to do it alone. This is where I think we fail. Whoever tries to just learn by themselves
yes,
is really challenged. When you learn with a group or you learn with the community, you have a better opportunities to kind of expand that, right? So that's my biggest chance to your public, to the people in your community. How do you make sure you come together to learn some of these things?
Yes, you're right. So one of the last questions I have is future of AI in Agile.
I think we talked about the future of just a lot of things in AI, right? But Agile has its governings, right? But it doesn't take into account when you look at some of these frameworks or some of these rules that certain coaches use that speeds up even faster the delivery cycle. So remember, Rocky, you got people requesting something.
Yeah.
Then you have to have people viewing those stuff, writing it down, then designing it, then developing, then go ahead and that process is going to go so much faster.
Yeah.
People are going to think of something, and the next few weeks it's going to be out there because that span is going to get shorter. It's going to get shorter. So what does that look like from a development team? We're going to be optimized to the next level. There's going to be everyone's going to have an AI component to their workforce. Everyone's going to have that toolkit where they're pulling this out and using. I had a coder who told me, Rick, I have all my AI agents there. So, and I have all these things automated. So when someone requests something, 80% of the code is already done.
Yeah.
Now I just need to go and tweak it and do this. So that's the kind of world we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at how do you automate some of the things that are tedious and think more of the more of the difficult parts are the ones we want to spend more time figuring out, right?
Yeah. I
So
always say that, discuss the potential for further integration and innovation. That's something that, is very it has to be there. I mean,
I'm going to share something with you. This is going to be another silly thing, but I don't think we're going to be the ones discovering space.
yeah.
I think what's going to be discovering space are, items or machines that have some type of knowledge that can share back some of those discoveries because they're built to withstand a lot of the stuff we can't do. So when you think of Star Wars, Star Trek, and you see the deep, hey, they've gone into space and they think about when we went to Mars, right? It's the rover that went there. It's those type of machines are going to really help us learn a lot more because we're just not physically built to be able to do a lot of the things we want to do to try to discover out there. So I think we're going to count on that to be kind of the future state of what we're going to do.
Yes, sir.
My opinion.
Very good. So it's been a pleasure, Mr. Rick. Always it's fun to talk about things, and especially about agile, artificial intelligence, and everything that's going on right now. Um, I'm very humble because you took your time to talk to me today. And thank you so much. And I think you're preparing for the Agile International Conference for next year, right?
Yes, it's in March, I think 16th and 17th. So we want to make sure everyone shows up. And right now it's at a really good price. We're actually giving it for $99, which
Oh,
is pretty
wow.
good. So we're giving back to the community. So please join us. I think it's also going to be at Nova Innovation Center, which we had an amazing time last year. So we hope that the community joins us. And thank you for hosting us, Rocky, for doing.
Yes.
We really appreciate you and all the stuff that you've done as well. So understand
Yes.
you've been actual, catalyst for us to kind of grow, what we've done with the community. So we thankful to have you in our team.
Sure. And also, I wanted to say that you have the coaching classes on
Yes.
Saturday.
Yeah, and they're free. You believe that,
That's free.
Rocky?
That's
Doing
free.
everything for
I'm
free.
surprised that it's free.
It's wrong how much we give back, But
Yes.
it's a great, guys, on Wednesdays and on Saturdays, we have free meetups. One is
Yes.
on Saturday. We have a whole bunch of coaches that kind of help you learn in your own pace, right? Which is great. And then on Wednesday, we have presentations. again, another great way to join the community, and hope I see you there.
Okay.
Thank you for watching our podcast.